Hmm. Hi people, Morning Ravenberg here again. Yeah, like I had to suggest in this video, I'm simply going to discuss another neutral topic, which is going to be open borders or the concept of borders between country and my general take, if you will, or basically said my general thoughts on immigration as a whole. For those, a lot of people are unaware of it because they've never had to move and therefore they've never had to come into contact with the paperwork, etc., and everything. But fact of the matter is, make no mistake, moving to other countries, depending on which country you want to move to, okay, can be an incredible pain in the ass. It all depends on your country's living standard, etc. But if you want to move to a country that's like the US, for example, Canada, if you want primarily, if you want to move to a Western country, make no mistake about it, it's unrealistically the standards are unrealistically high. It's unrealistic to move. Someone that comes from Africa, any country in Africa, Nigeria, Ghana, do you have any idea how difficult it is to actually move from Nigeria to the UK, for example, United Kingdom, any country within the United Kingdom, Scotland? To move from a country like Nigeria to a country like Scotland, do you have any idea how difficult that is? Okay, we're talking about all the paperwork you have to go through. The average person will never even come close to meeting the standards. It doesn't matter how wealthy you are, it does not matter how well educated you are, it doesn't matter how MVP-ish you are. It doesn't matter how skilled you are, how talented you are. I'm more than familiar with the immigration policies of most countries, and I can tell people that are watching this straight away, in case you aren't aware of it, that most Western countries or countries that have a high living standard, particularly European countries, they have an unrealistic immigration policy, which I disagree with. By default, I agree with the fact that you should have an immigration policy that is in alignment with the quality of life and living standard in your country. But under no circumstance do I agree with the unrealistic immigration standards or the unrealistic immigration requirements that a good deal of European countries have. Like I said, you can literally, doesn't matter, you could even sacrifice an arm and a leg, and legally you're not getting into Europe, so to speak. This is no diss to Europeans, of course, absolutely not. Um, and yeah, I don't have to say anything about countries that lack any quality of life, like the third world or anything in between. Okay, countries that are somewhere in between. With them, the living standard and quality of life, or better said, the lack of those things, is in alignment with the immigration policies, okay, in force, which are little to none. So bluntly put, the place is an absolute shithole. Okay, usually shithole countries have no standards. Okay, no immigration standards, because that's why it's a shit show. Since the country is already worthless, then yeah, why even bother with a decent immigration policy? That makes no sense. That's like a hooker, a $10 hooker, asking $1,000 for a blowjob. That's a vulgar example, I'm aware of that, but I'm sorry, no other example came to mind. Not that I have anything vulgar on my mind, this is just an example. Yeah, but in general, people seem to be unaware of this. You can't just pack up your bags if you live in Argentina and say, you know what, I'm gonna move to Australia. No. That's not how it works, okay? You can try as hard as you'd like, and it can take you potentially years. And it's not about money, it's not just about money, it's about everything, okay? Assimilation, everything, okay? So for starters, just with money, you'll have to land a job that pays at least 10 times what you're used to making, in any case, or 10 times roughly estimated, or as much as they make, okay, as much as your destination country makes. And aside from that, you need to get used to the climate, provided that the climate is vastly different, which is the case in most cases. You need to get used to the way of life there, the way people go about daily life. You need to assimilate, integrate yourself into society, gain a foothold, and all of that is nearly impossible. That's why you rarely see people move. How often do you see people move from a country that's pretty much a worthless hole to a country that's actually has a decent living standard? Like it's realistically speaking close to impossible, nearly impossible. And that's why people don't do so. And I'm not gonna lie, like I said, I disagree. I significantly disagree with that notion because I'm of the opinion, well, not opinion, but I know for a fact that regardless of where you look in the world, you'll find people more or less. It doesn't matter, even if you only find one person, you'll find people that have potential, genuine potential, and these people want to move somewhere with a high living standard. They want a certain quality of life and they have the right to that. It And usually these people, even people that come from worthless locations, these people immediately they're outliers. They stand out for exceptional skill in a particular field or subject, and these people usually seek out moving, but that's difficult. And like I said, I disagree with that. If I if I ruled a country, and and I simply wanted to increase my country's living standard or anything like that, I would think up incentives to basically invite people over to my country, as in, hey, if you live here for 20 years, then you get a house, you get this, you get that, you have government assistance up to a certain extent, so you don't have to break your head over things like paperwork or real estate, housing care, and stuff like that. You'll be helped out. The whole process will be made as smoothly as possible for you. But again, I disagree. I strongly disagree with the whole impossible immigration laws. I mean, why have immigration laws to begin with? If you don't want people in your country, then just say so. There's nothing wrong with that. Just basically just state that only under exceptional circumstances will someone be granted a resident permit or a residency permit in the sense of how should I put it? In the sense of, for example, a doctor that is unique in terms of the line of work that he offers or what he specializes in, someone working in the medical field, and so on. These are highly exceptional cases. A scientist that is involved in a rare line of work and the country doesn't have access to anyone domestic that has his or her skill set. That's normal. For the rest, you just issue people visas that want to come on vacation, and that's it. I mean, just be straightforward. But who are you kidding? If you, for example, give out some kind of business immigration program that enables you to live in a country on a probationary basis, that goes through a couple of bureaucratic loopholes along the lines of after 2 years you'll be reviewed and you'll get a residency permit, and it just goes on and on and on and on and on. I mean, just imagine that. It makes no sense. And one of the requirements is, it's just a requirement. It's no guarantee for automatic admission. The requirements are, for example, that you have to, upon arrival within the country, the destination country, you'll have to erect a business or establish a business, if you haven't so already, that's at least worth $500,000. I mean, seriously, what kind of person, who in the world will be able to go through something like that, or not just that, be willing to go through something like that? Okay, as in be willing to without having any guarantee, invest $500,000 in a business, to only, for example, due to some kind of unforeseen circumstance, be rejected, be denied, or have his visa approval rejected for a temporary residency permit. It's just stupid. It's ludicrous. Talk about unrealistic. That's my point. And now, like I said, if I were the leader of a country, immigration would be smooth, but I automatically want, people with talent, people that will contribute undoubtedly to the country. And these people have full support and everything, but these people need to meet the standards. as in you need to be able to fill in an elaborative questionnaire that explains exactly what you want to do, how you intend on doing it, what you want to come do here, what do you do for work, what is your exact reason, the who, the what, the where, the why, and the how in detail. And the person needs to meet the standard, basic standards, as in you have enough money to take care of yourself, like a startup company, for example. You have enough money to last, for example, at least half a year, and you've got a clear-cut goal in mind, blah, 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 blah. That's my point. But it's like a company, usually high-end companies, companies that pay 1.5 times to twice as much as the national average. These companies automatically have tremendously high standards. By default, you need an above average level of education or a similar thought pattern. So an elevated level of thinking or an elevated level of intellect. You need at least 2 to 3 years of work experience in your line of work, the kind of work that you're applying for, or two. So the job that you're applying for, or two. And for the rest, you need to meet a bunch of other standards. I mean, how often do you see people, those kind of companies hire people? Rarely. Usually when there's a vacancy or when that company is actually looking for new personnel, you've got thousands of people that apply for the position, but only a couple are chosen, people that meet the standards as best as possible. And that's normal, that's logical, okay? The company is basically picking out the best of the best, and the company is picking out the best of the best, and that ensures that the company maintains its level of professionalism and high quality of service offering. Okay, the company maintains its standards, and usually dead-end companies or companies that offer dead-end jobs, stereotypical trademarks are companies that where the average person, that are constantly or near constantly on the lookout for new personnel. Companies that always have help wanted signs or automatically a red flag, like, oh god, it has to be a shithole company. Dead end job, there's nothing you can do. No, nothing, okay? No, you can't do anything. There are no expansive opportunities. You just make minimum wage or close to minimum wage. There's nowhere you can go. There's nothing you can do. That's my point. So that's normal. It's the same thing. Okay. And I would open up the borders for people that meet the standards. But I have no idea who people are fooling. I mean, that's rational, but you need to be realistic. If you're anti-immigration, just say that you're anti-immigration. Just say that you are, end of story. Just say that you only issue tourist visas and visas for people that are into exceptional lines of work. For example, people in the medical profession or scientific profession and related, or people that have diplomatic ties or possess a certain level of diplomatic immunity. People like prime ministers and presidents, you name it. Those are the only exceptions, but for the rest, no one else is getting in. That's normal, okay? Instead of just, feeding people bull crap. Because, I'm like that. Honestly, I'd be lying. I mean, if you're someone that tells me, listen, you can have the book that I'm holding in my hand, but you need to be able to hold your breath for 5 minutes. I mean, screw that. That's unrealistic, to say the least. That's my point. But yeah, I mean, be realistic. If you set the bar high, then fine, set the bar high. But if you set the bar 10 meters high, no one is going to reach that bar. Okay, unless that person can metaphorically float, or if it's Jesus, someone like Jesus that can actually float. But yeah, that's my point. It's just by the way, I'm not making this video out of any kind of for any personal reason. I mean, it's just a topic that came to mind and a topic that I thought would be best to cover, because a lot of people are surprisingly unaware and uneducated on the subject of immigration. A lot of people think a lot of people think that you can simply pack your bags and just say, okay, I'm moving. I'm going to Egypt, I'm going to Saudi Arabia, I'm going to Australia, I'm going to New Guinea. No. It doesn't work that way. Not even a little bit, not even remotely. So yeah, no, like again, if I were the one calling the shots, then yeah, I would set the bar realistically high. Okay, as in, hey, if you want to come live here, you're more than welcome. I would advertise it, so to speak, at immigration fairs, if there is such a thing, or anything like that. Okay, but bottom line is that I would be more than welcoming, as in, yes, people come in. Okay, we welcome anyone that meets the standards. Okay, if you meet these standards, okay, you filled in everything, everything checks out, you're not a criminal, okay, you know what you want to do for a living, okay, you're coming here for work or whatever the hell you're coming to do here, and you're seriously committed to integration, you speak the language, yeah, blah, 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 you have enough cash to hold you over, and you have a clear plan in mind, then we don't have a problem. Okay, people like that, immigrants like that will automatically see to at the very least decent living standard. Okay, these people are fine. They're not criminals. They're not delinquents. They're people that can hold their own. They're people that have a specific plan in mind. They're simply people that are looking for green pastures. They're people that want to lead a decent life with an as high as living standard as possible that they can afford, immaterially as well as materially. But realistic immigration policies, the immigration policies that a good deal of countries apply, it's just laughable. I'm like, seriously, who the fuck are you kidding? Do you actually think? I remember, keep in mind what I said. I'm not doing this, I'm not recording this video for personal reasons. I need to specify that because some of you might think that that's the case. Not at all. This is just a neutral topic. I just want to give a personal example. I'm going to close off with a personal example. I contacted an immigration lawyer or something a good while ago, I think last year, and I asked for information, and I simply submitted my information and asked that person, someone that cuts through the nonsense, that someone that can clearly tell me, hey, listen, are you eligible for getting into the country or not? And what are the programs, etc. Someone that goes through all of the bureaucratic nonsense for me. That's what I paid the person for. And that person told me, yeah, based on what you do for a living, etc., you qualify for example, a business program. Those are the things that you qualify for. Requirements, etc. Okay, and here it comes again. If I want to admit myself to the program, it's going to cost me $55,000. I'm like, seriously? So basically, I'm not even, okay, my admission isn't even proof. It's like saying that you can buy a nationality, If you give us $55,000, then yeah, you have the citizenship and nationality. We're going to give you your passport and we're done. Okay, that would be easy. I would be like, okay, that's clear enough. The question is, do I want it? You need to depend, is the country worth that money? And vice versa, is the money worth that country? But in my personal example, make no mistake, this was not a high-end country that I was applying for. Okay, this was a country that is a country that is, I wouldn't call it a shithole, but it's definitely not a high-end country. Let's just say it's somewhere in between. I'm not going to call any names here. I'm not going to name anything here, okay? Let's just say it's a country on a scale of 1 to 10. I'd give the country a 6, at most, a 6. So, I'd give the country a 6. So yeah, I simply went through the motions with that lawyer, and he told me, the admission for the business program is $55,000. And I told him, wait a minute. So I need to hand over $55,000 to you guys for the admission without having any clear-cut guarantee that I'm automatically going to get approved. I'm like, no, that's ludicrous. That is an example. See, that's unrealistic, and it tells me that the immigration department of that country, or even if it's just that specific immigration firm from that lawyer that I contacted, just wants to make money. And this was a legitimate lawyer. This isn't a scammer or anything like that. I'm way ahead of people that think that. No. This was a legitimate person. Okay, and I'm like, wow, okay. Okay, this was a person this was a government employee that specialized in the immigration department and immigration services. And it just made me laugh. I was like, wow, so these guys actually think I'm going to give them $55,000, okay, just to be admitted to the program. And if I, by some kind of wonder, okay, the chances of me getting rejected are low, but it's still there. If by some kind of 1% or 2% wonder I still get rejected, I'm not getting my $55,000 back. I'm automatically, okay, they'll keep the money and that's it. See, that's what I'm talking about. Look at what I'm talking about. See, And it's just pathetic, okay? It immediately told me that now this country's immigration department only wants to make money, and that's what I'm talking about. It's like charging $100 for a bottle of juice that costs $10. It's just offensive, okay? This gives a whole new definition to overpricing. But yeah, I just think it's pathetic. And anyway, that's it. I'll hear from you guys if you have anything to say, any comments or opinions, whatever the hell you want to say. Drop it in the comment section. Bye.